In the golden age of cinema, Germany stood at the forefront of film innovation. But when the Nazi regime took power in 1933, its film industry became a weapon, one that pushed many of its brightest stars to leave the country. Today, we count down 5 top German film stars who left, how they built careers, why they left, and what became of them after the war. Number 5. Luise Rainer. Luise Rainer was born in Düsseldorf in 1910 to a Jewish family. She trained in Vienna and launched her film career in Weimar, Germany, where she quickly caught the attention of Max Reinhardt, one of the era's most influential theater directors. Rainer was poised to become a major star in Germany, but history had other plans. Rainer appeared in several German and Austrian films that showcased her dramatic talent and screen presence. Among her most notable early works were 1932's Sehnsucht 202, where she played a strong supporting role, and Today's the Big Day in 1933, a romantic drama that highlighted her expressive range. These performances, though less known today, help lay the foundation of her international breakthrough. By 1933, the Nazis were in power. Although Rainer wasn't yet a major target, her Jewish heritage and political instincts told her it was time to leave. She relocated to Hollywood, where her delicate, expressive acting captured the industry's imagination. Her Hollywood debut came in 1935 with Escapade, a romantic drama opposite William Powell, which introduced her to American audiences and set the stage for stardom. Her breakout came in 1936's The Great Ziegfeld, also opposite Powell, where she played the tragic first wife of Florenz Ziegfeld. For that film, she won the Academy Award for Best Actress. Just 1 year later, she won her second Oscar for The Good Earth, portraying a humble Chinese peasant. She was the first actor to win back-to-back Academy Awards. But success in Hollywood proved fleeting. Disenchanted by studio politics and the pressure to replicate her early triumphs, Rainer faded from the spotlight by the 1940s. After the war, she distanced herself from Germany, choosing instead to live quietly in London and Switzerland. Rainer never fully reconnected with West Germany's post-war film industry, though in later interviews, she expressed sorrow over what had happened to her homeland. In 2011, at the age of 101, she returned to Berlin to receive a long-overdue star on the Boulevard der Stars, a symbolic recognition after public pressure corrected her initial omission. She passed away in 2014 at the age of 104. Number 4. Conrad Veidt. If you know Casablanca, you know Conrad Veidt. He played the chilling Major Strasser. But Veidt's story is rich with irony and resistance. Born in 1893 in Berlin, Veidt was one of Germany's top silent film stars. His haunting role as Cesare in The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari made him a global icon of expressionist horror. Over the next decade, he starred in dozens of German films, balancing sinister roles with dashing romantic leads. His notable pre-exile performances included The Hands of Orlac in 1924, where he played a tormented pianist with transplanted hands from a murderer, 1919's Different from the Others, one of the first films to sympathetically portray homosexuality, and The Man Who Laughs in 1928, a haunting romantic melodrama in which Veidt portrayed a disfigured man with a permanent grin, an iconic performance that later inspired the look of the Joker character from Batman. Veidt opposed the Nazi regime from the outset. In 1933, shortly after marrying Ilona Prager, a Jewish woman, he fled Germany for Britain before any official action could be taken against them. When asked to complete Joseph Goebbels' mandatory racial questionnaire, Veidt famously wrote Jude in protest. Though not Jewish himself, he refused to disavow his wife or cooperate with the Nazi government. This principled stand rendered him unemployable in Germany. Despite smear campaigns against him by Nazi publications, Veidt continued to denounce the regime publicly. In Britain, he improved his English and starred in The Spy in Black in 1939 and Contraband and The Thief of Baghdad, both in 1940. By 1941, he and his wife had moved to Hollywood. Determined to support the Allied cause, they donated much of their savings to the British war effort. Realizing Hollywood would typecast him as a Nazi, Veidt insisted in his contract that any such roles must portray villains. He starred in 1942's Nazi Agent, where he played both a Nazi spy and his anti-Nazi twin brother. His most famous role came in Casablanca as the chilling Major Strasser. Veidt once remarked on the irony that he had been forced to flee Germany only to be praised for portraying its worst villains. Off-screen, he remained a steadfast opponent of fascism until his death of a heart attack in 1943 at the age of 50, never living to see the war's end. Number 3. Elisabeth Bergner. Elisabeth Bergner was not just a star, she was a sensation. Born in 1897 in what is now Ukraine, Bergner became a defining presence on the German stage in the 1920s and early 1930s. Her androgynous charisma and intelligence drew comparisons to Greta Garbo and Sarah Bernhardt. She starred in German silent and early sound films, including Fräulein Elsa in 1929 and Ariane in 1931. But Bergner was Jewish, and when the Nazis came to power in 1933, she fled Germany with her husband. They settled in Britain, where she became one of the first German-speaking stars to successfully transition into English-language film. In 1935, she starred in Escape Me Never, earning an Oscar nomination for Best Actress for her role as an unwed mother who becomes romantically entangled with two brothers. The following year, she played Rosalind in As You Like It, the first English-language film adaptation of Shakespeare's play, opposite Laurence Olivier. She continued to work in both British and American productions, including the wartime drama Paris Calling in 1941, where she portrayed a courageous member of the French resistance. However, her thick accent and European demeanor made Hollywood a tougher fit. After the war, Bergner returned to Germany only sparingly. She was ambivalent about reconciliation, wary of the industry and country that had once turned on her. Still, she remained active in theater and became an early voice of moral accountability in post-war German culture. In 1954, she returned to Germany for stage and film work, and a park in Berlin was named in her honor. One of her most notable later roles came in 1973's The Pedestrian, a drama about a German industrialist confronting his Nazi past. Bergner played the man's mother, in a performance that brought gravitas and emotional weight to the story. The film won the Golden Globe for Best Foreign Language Film and was nominated for an Academy Award. In a final footnote to her influence, Bergner's real-life experience inspired the story behind All About Eve. She once took pity on a seemingly vulnerable young woman who lingered outside the stage door during her run in The Two Mrs. Carols. Bergner gave her a job as a secretary, only to discover the woman was attempting to take over her life. The story inspired Mary Orr's short story, The Wisdom of Eve, which became the basis for the Oscar-winning film. Bergner passed away in 1986 at the age of 88. Number 2. Peter Lorre. Peter Lorre never looked like a movie star, but he became one of the most recognizable faces in both German and American film. Born Laszlo Lowenstein in Hungary in 1904, Lorre was raised in Austria and launched his acting career in Berlin. His breakthrough came in Fritz Lang's M in 1931, where he played a tormented child murderer with chilling vulnerability. It was a performance so powerful, it threatened to typecast him for life. Lorre was Jewish, and as anti-Semitism surged in Germany, he fled in 1933. He went first to Paris, then London, where he starred in Alfred Hitchcock's The Man Who Knew Too Much.
It is the last time I let myself be smuggled into this country, for you or anybody else.
You will be smuggled, my friend, when, how, and where I'm pleased for you to be smuggled. Yes?
By 1935, Lorre had moved to Hollywood, and there he found a permanent home, as the go-to actor for morally ambiguous roles. He played Mr. Moto, the sinister yet clever detective in a series of B-movies, and then went on to appear in classics like The Maltese Falcon and Casablanca, often cast as the odd, unsettling outsider. His voice, mannerisms, and haunted eyes made him instantly recognizable. But behind the scenes, Lorre struggled with a long-term morphine addiction, originally prescribed after a surgery in the 1920s, and battled depression and isolation in a system that often typecast him and left him feeling culturally adrift. After World War II and the end of his Warner Brothers contract, Lorre's Hollywood career declined. He turned to radio and stage work and filed for bankruptcy in 1949. In 1950, he traveled to West Germany to co-write, direct, and star in The Lost One in 1951, a dark film noir about a scientist confronting his wartime crimes. It was one of the only post-war films by a German émigré to tackle guilt and justice head-on. Though critically praised, it failed at the box office. Lorre ultimately returned to Hollywood. Throughout the 1950s and early 60s, he also showcased his versatility in films such as Disney's adventure classic 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea in 1954, the Cold War musical Silk Stockings in 1957, and Irwin Allen's sci-fi thriller Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea in 1961. He passed away in 1964 at the age of 59. Number 1. Marlene Dietrich. No star burned brighter or more defiantly than Marlene Dietrich. Born in Berlin in 1901, Dietrich began in German silent films and rose to fame under director Josef von Sternberg, starring in 1930's The Blue Angel, one of the most iconic films of the Weimar era. The film was shot simultaneously in German and English, showcasing her sultry voice and enigmatic presence to international audiences and marking her transition into global stardom. Her portrayal of cabaret singer Lola Lola, smoky-voiced, commanding, and sexually independent, redefined femininity on screen. It also launched her international career. After The Blue Angel, Dietrich followed Sternberg to Hollywood, where they collaborated on a string of visually sumptuous and provocative films that solidified her status as an international star. In 1930's Morocco, she played a cabaret singer who famously kissed a woman on screen, earning her an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress, her only Oscar nod. This was followed by Dishonored in 1931 and Shanghai Express and Blonde Venus in 1932, in which her blend of cool allure, wit, and vulnerability became her trademark. By the early 1930s, she was one of Paramount's biggest and most bankable stars, rivaling Greta Garbo in fame and mystique. But in 1933, the world changed, and so did the stakes of stardom. As Hitler rose to power, the Nazi regime made repeated overtures to lure Dietrich back to Germany. Joseph Goebbels sent word that if she returned, she would become the greatest star in the Reich, offered wealth, prestige, and the full backing of UFA studios. Dietrich didn't hesitate. She refused. Instead, in 1939, she took American citizenship and never looked back. That same year, Dietrich took a sharp turn from her earlier glamorous roles to star in Destry Rides Again, a Western comedy drama opposite James Stewart. Her portrayal of saloon singer Frenchie redefined her image, gritty, comedic, and resilient, and proved she could thrive far beyond the stylized world she had built with Sternberg. Her rejection of the Nazi regime wasn't just symbolic, it was total. And as World War II broke out, she decided to use her fame for the fight. Dietrich became one of the most visible celebrities supporting the Allied war effort. She sold more war bonds than any other Hollywood figure, starred in morale-boosting radio programs, and recorded anti-Nazi songs aimed at German soldiers, most notably Lili Marleen, which became a melancholy anthem on both sides of the front. In 1944 and 1945, Dietrich joined the USO and toured extensively with the U.S. Army in Europe. She traveled through war zones to entertain Allied troops, sometimes within just a few miles of the front lines. She slept in tents, endured freezing temperatures, and performed even when ill. On one occasion, she was nearly killed when a German V-1 flying bomb exploded nearby. In the Ardennes, she risked her life visiting wounded soldiers in field hospitals, some so close to combat that shellfire could be heard during her performances. Dietrich also lent her voice to the OSS, the forerunner of the CIA. She recorded German-language messages and songs designed to demoralize enemy troops, a campaign of psychological warfare as audacious as it was personal. After the war, Dietrich was awarded the Medal of Freedom by the United States and the Legion of Honor by France. But in her native Germany, she was seen by some as a traitor. When she toured West Germany in the 1960s, she was met with a mix of adoration and hostility. In Berlin, protesters shouted, "Marlene, go home!" But in Munich and Hamburg, she received standing ovations. In 1961, Dietrich took one of her most emotionally resonant roles in Judgment at Nuremberg, Stanley Kramer's courtroom drama about the post-war trials of Nazi judges. She played Madame Berthold, the widow of a convicted German general who tries to reconcile her country's past with its present. It wasn't just a role, it was personal. Dietrich reportedly struggled with the film's subject matter and her character's quiet complicity. Her performance, subtle and restrained, echoed Dietrich's own emotional conflict with Germany's post-war identity. She never fully reconciled with Germany, though in later years the country began to embrace her legacy. In 2002, Berlin named a plaza after her, Marlene Dietrich Platz. Today, she is remembered as both a cinematic icon and a moral compass. She passed away in 1992 at the age of 90. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below.